The state of Minnesota is moving ahead with its investigation and very likely indictment of the two federal agents who killed Renee Good and Alex Pretty. Let's discuss. I'm Dave Ehrenberg, former state attorney for Palm Beach County, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman, here on Substack. Thanks for all your support. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. If you have, please consider upgrading. And then you have two-way conversations and live chat and office hours every month. So please consider supporting my work that way. But also, these videos will remain free. And I want to talk about the state of Minnesota because, as expected, the state of Minnesota is not listening to the federal government's advice to do yourself a favor and let it go. No, they are going. They have just filed a lawsuit in federal court to try to force the federal government to release the evidence that is possessing on the cases of the killings of Alex Pretty and Renee Good. Now, remember, I've done previous videos on this, and I have predicted that the state of Minnesota is going to do this. So they're going to go to court. They're going to demand that the federal government turn over this information. And even if they don't get this information, they're going to likely indict these two federal agents because they're going to do their own independent investigation, whether they get the federal government's help or not. Now, the federal government does have a right to delay the production of information to the state if in doing so, it would protect the integrity of their own investigation. For example, if they say, we're investigating, and as a result, we can't let other agencies see the evidence while we need it. We don't want it to be tampered with. We don't want a separate investigation to start using the evidence to issue subpoenas and grant immunity to certain witnesses because that could conflict with our investigation. But what happens when the federal government's investigation is no investigation, when it's already predetermined? And after all, Kristi Noem said these two victims are domestic terrorists and the officers, the agents, did nothing wrong. So now the federal government is defending itself, saying we have an open investigation. We don't have to turn over this information. But I do think that the judge will see through it as a pretext, as a ruse. That's going to be the big question. Is it a real investigation? Prove it. Show me that you're really investigating and you need to withhold this evidence from state officials, that there's a real reason other than you want to make sure the state does not prosecute and you want to make sure no one ever prosecutes these two agents. You're protecting them. That's not a good reason to withhold the evidence. And so what's happening now is that the state filed a lawsuit and a judge is going to make this determination. Now, I think the judge is going to release the evidence, is going to say, federal government, you have to turn it over. And then the state is going to use that and evidence they collected to indict these two individuals. Now, maybe they find the evidence is not as compelling. Maybe they find evidence that contradicts what people see in the videos and the witness testimony, and then there is no indictment. But I am predicting that it's going to head to a state indictment, not a federal one, a state indictment. And then after that, the defendants, the federal agents, will go to court and demand that the case get removed to federal court because it's going to be a state indictment in state court, and then the defendants are going to ask a judge to remove it to federal court because they're federal agents. That will happen, and then it'll be up to the federal judge to decide whether those agents get immunity from prosecution. That's going to be for all the marbles. I mean, that's the biggest decision in this case, because if the federal judge says, yeah, you get immunity, then it's game over. There is no prosecution. But if the federal judge said, no, your actions were not necessary and proper in the furtherance of your duties, then it's game on. So watch for that, but that's not until it's further down the line. According to NPR, the Justice Department in January said it was opening a federal civil rights investigation into Pretty's killing, but has said a similar federal probe was not warranted in the killing of Good. The decision in Good's case marked a sharp departure from past administrations, which moved quickly to investigate shootings of civilians by law enforcement officials for potential civil rights offenses. So they are saying there is an investigation and we shouldn't turn over the evidence, but that's in the Pretty case. In the Good case, there is no investigation. So I don't think it's going to matter in either case. I think the court is going to require the information to be turned over. And we'll keep following here on Substack. I'm Dave Aronberg, a.k.a. the Florida Lawman. If you like this video, hit the subscribe button, share with a friend, leave a comment below, and also please consider supporting my work by upgrading to a paid subscription. And I'll see you next time.